Well, g'day, it's Stuart and this is an assessment for workshop number 1, discussion 1.2, entitled Desire and the Goodness of God. And it's based on chapter 1 of the book Addiction and Grace by Gerald May, and this is the 21st of January 2015. May's basic premise in this chapter is that people are hindered from their inborn desire for God by the forces of repression and addiction. Repression is the stuffing down of those things that make us angry, and sooner or later, however, they will emerge to nudge us that something's not quite right. They never actually go away. The other force of addiction, well, the other force is addiction, which is much more vicious and has, May says, all of us in its grip. So we are responsible for these addictions, but we cannot control them, he says. A rather hopeless situation, really. He pursues the career of a psychiatrist, but finds increasing frustration that no one is ever really cured by his treatments of addictions. So he continues to search for success, and he finds himself actually face to face with his rejected childhood faith, when the common element of successful cases that he has encountered always has a significant spiritual component. So he began then with the prayer of his 9-year-old self and found his desire and his awareness of God growing once again. So now his pursuit was not so much that of a professional, but rather one that was personal and spiritual. So this studying led him to realise that his addictions to success, while not as bad as say heroin or cocaine, were nonetheless on the same addiction continuum. And the discovery forced him back to his knees, and it also then opened his heart to grace, God's grace. Now, the hopeless internal compulsions to things that could not deliver what they promised, in other words, false gods, idols, to the obsessions and preoccupations that could only be answered really by the grace of God. So he realised that to experience freedom, we need to open our hearts to the gift of God's grace. And to do so requires us to humble ourselves, to empty ourselves of the idols that we have clung to in a desperate search for meaning and love. Now, this grace of God is actually seeking us out, but not to control, but to bring freedom. The freedom to choose what is actually best. So it humbles and then awakens us to this new hope that breaks the power of former gods and sets us free to serve the one true and living God. Now, as I was reading through this chapter, I'm a little wary of how psychology is often used by many to explain away the biblical concept of sin. But May puts it back in the picture clearly as something that has affected all of us and for which we are responsible. I think May has picked up the two aspects of our salvation: by grace, which is God's part, and through faith, which is our part. We cannot be passive at all. It will take, in fact, all that we have combined with all that God has to experience this freedom that he's talking about. I'm not sure I would call our addictions a gift, as May does or suggests. I think what would be better described as a gift is the pain that creates awareness of our addictions that drives us to humble ourselves before God for his deliverance. And it's this kind of experience is life-changing because it's the work of the Holy Spirit with desperate souls that are seeking him. Until God gets involved, I don't see any real permanent transformation being possible. And May has really, I think, hit this on this in a positive way.